There's no words for it. Everybody was very silent as we were flying over and getting closer to the ground, and being able to see is just shocking.
I think, as most people know and felt, that about 2:50 this afternoon we experienced a significant earthquake. It turns out it was about 8.9 magnitude.
The day that the earthquake hit, our unit was actually deploying to Thailand to go participate in exercise Cope Tiger. We all get to our hotel, and all of a sudden, as soon as we all connected to Wi-Fi, phones are just going off. I had tons of messages from everybody asking me if we were okay. I turned on the TV and saw the news and saw the damage that had happened from the tsunami and the earthquake, and we were all just kind of in shock. So in the middle of an airdrop training mission, they tell us to turn back around. We land back at the airport, and everybody's packing up. And they were like, you have an hour to go to the hotel, get all your stuff. We're going back to Japan. Operation Tomodachi is kicking off.
Every day, every hour, there was a new development that kept piling on. And so you didn't ever know exactly what happened at the moment. It was like a week later, you realize the devastation that just happened. You know, and then the nuclear, who saw that coming? Nobody saw that coming. That was like a curveball.
The nuclear power plants had suffered a great deal of damage, and we were kind of concerned about the general populace abroad. And we started taking scans of the area, both near the power plant and also the surrounding areas in the towns nearby. The buildings had fallen apart. There's a lot of additional parts of structures that were laying about, and I believe there were fire trucks nearby, and they were regularly spraying water to keep it cool. The environmental department on base came to assist to determine if we were radiologically contaminated. I remember us giggling at that point. I remember taking out my camera and taking a picture of my engineer when he was getting scanned, and he was just smiling. We were still riding that high of being able to help truly make a big difference. To try to remember that one power plant that was damaged, we could remember it, but it kind of dwarfed in comparison of the amount of towns and deaths that occurred in the areas that we were in due to the tsunami itself.
We basically took one of our crews out of alert and took off probably about 3 or so in the morning with 2 special tactics teams, 2 Humvees in the back of the airplane. They flew up to Matsushima. They had a reception team there waiting on them, and one special tactics team stayed there with them to set up some mobile comms and work with them to sort of expand the runway opening with them. And they did the roughly 20-mile overland drive to get from Matsushima to Sendai International Airport.
I would say about half of it to a third of it was completely covered with either water or mud or slush. There were airplanes that looked like they were just all shoved to one corner of the other side of the airport. There were cars. It just looked like a table after we got up from playing with my kids of micro machines, and it just all shoved to one side. There was dirt everywhere.
By roughly 10, 11 o'clock that morning, we had 2 comm nodes set up at those 2 airfields, and they started clearing both runways. By 3 or so in the afternoon, we landed the first MC-130 on the runway at Sendai International Airport. And that was the airport, if you recall, they had all that video evidence of the tsunami coming in off the ocean, because that airport sits right off the coast. Over the course of 2 weeks, they incrementally worked together with the Japanese airport managers, volunteers from the local community as well, and they incrementally flew in water, gasoline, diesel, forklifts. We brought in a bunch of material handling equipment and things to help them push and pull vehicles and trees and debris off the runway. And with each successive day, the usable runway kept getting bigger and bigger.
It was a unique opportunity to see the resiliency of the Japanese people and how quickly they were recovering, and how we were able to kind of help facilitate that. Anytime you do these memorials, you know, I get a little choked up, because it was such a big event and it was so tremendous and impactful for everybody here. And being a part of Japan, you know, I'm not Japanese, but I feel like this is part of my family and being here. So it was very humbling, very sobering, and a little exciting to be able to contribute to help in the recovery efforts.
Watching those Japanese people wait hours in line quietly for food or whatever, calmly, their mannerism toward each other in the crisis was very respectable. And I think it was It was an example for the world to follow.
I think Tomodachi is, again, it's an unfortunate coincidence, but we all strive to be part of something bigger, and I think that was the opportunity for us to be part of something bigger.
My crews, they jumped into it with both feet. They knew it was a serious situation, and it didn't matter the time of day or that they were taking off and flying missions. They knew that they were contributing to a greater cause, and they took pride in that. Out on the beach, just short of the runway, there's a bunch of blown over trees, washed up trees, and it just looked like a big bunch of logs, but they spelled out arigato on the beach. So that was sort of a welcoming sign to those crews. If something were to happen here again, I know that the United States will probably do anything in its power to help out, and I'd like to say it'd probably be the same way if the shoe were on the other foot. If we needed some support, that the Japanese would be there to help us as well.